Welcome back to today's economic news. I'm your host, John, and today we're diving deep into the veiled intricacies of the ongoing peace efforts between Ukraine and Russia, reportedly pushed forward by key figures once linked with the Trump administration. Finnish President Alexander Stubb suggests that the involvement of Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff has brought us closer to a peace settlement than ever before. But before you let out a sigh of relief, let's unravel what these headlines really mean for you and the global stage. Now, why should you be irate about this development, or at least skeptical? We've been conditioned to see peace talks as synonymous with good news. However, the nature of these dialogues, especially with the inclusion of such polarizing figures, might actually point to a broader strategy where the endgame isn't peace, but a shift in geopolitical power. These talks, possibly defined more by a balance of strategic carrots and sticks than genuine resolutions, could be a well-played hand in an ongoing diplomatic poker game. Let's take a step back and paint the picture of how we arrived at today's complex scenario. Context is everything here. The roots of the Ukrainian and Russian conflict trace back to significant events, most prominently the 2014 annexation of Crimea by Russia and the intense warfare that followed in eastern Ukraine. The move by Russia was not merely territorial aggression, but a stand to assert control and counter Ukraine's growing affinity towards Western Europe and NATO, which Russia perceives as a direct threat to its sphere of influence. In response, Western powers, including the United States and the European Union, wielded the tool they thought would effectively curb Russia's ambitions: sanctions. These sanctions have spanned critical Russian economic sectors, notably oil and gas, aiming to cripple its economy. Established initially through the Magnitsky Act of 2012 and expanded through various executive orders, these sanctions signified a strategic pivot against Russian aggression. Fast forward to the present, these same sanctions contribute heavily to Russia's economic stagnancy, zero growth reported, and burdened by high interest rates and inflation. But what does this static economy mean? Is Russia truly on the back foot, or are we simply stepping into a brimming pit of unpredictability? Here's where the rubber meets the road. Let's dissect the hard data. The European Union has shelled out a whopping $105 billion in aid to Ukraine. What does that equate to? That's like every single one of us tossing in more than a few $100s to a cause we were never consulted on. And what's the return? Simply put, hopes wrapped in uncertainties with peace hanging on a thread. Let's talk about those sanctions. The Russian economy may be sluggish with zero growth recorded, but to assume sanctions are effectively shackling Russian military ambitions is naive. Strategies evolve, especially under complex diplomatic strains where high stakes are involved. Remember the quotes from Stubb: "We're probably closer than we have been at any time of this war." And the balance of carrot and stick in the negotiations is working. Optimistically presented, yes, but layered in vagueness that barely masks the broader strategic maneuverings. With these diplomatic nuances out on the table, let's delve into the libertarian view. First, consider the long-reaching impacts of $105 billion worth of financial aid. It may well be a catalyst for inflation as governments ensure financing through taxing you more or resorting to national debt. How does this align with the principles of individualism, where citizens now indirectly bear the weight of global politics? What about the government's seemingly blind reliance on sanctions? A bluffing card that perhaps has overstayed its effectiveness? The dialogue is clear. Peace is on the horizon, but behind this enticing vision lies a shadow of international orchestrations that could potentially edge you closer to liberty's loss. Surveillance escalates, military budgets bloat, and you unwillingly get dragged into a game that threatens to scale beyond borders. So here's the crux. You're paying for the mistakes not only unasked for, but possibly unforeseen. This setup demands scrutiny. If you're tired of your resources being pawned in political gambits not of your making, I implore you, hit that subscribe button. Stay informed, because knowledge is the shield in navigating these turbulent waters. Thank you for tuning in to today's economic news. I'm John, reminding you to question, to ponder, and most importantly, to stay vigilant.